In 2003, Threshold Entertainment released their first animated film in the form of Foodfight. While the film was largely panned by critics due to its oddly placed adult humor and wasted voice talent, it did receive some praise for its animation style, which combined the squash and stretch style of pre-blank code Disney cartoons with fully 3D animation that was still in its infancy at the time. More importantly, it was a huge box office success, which was largely attributed to the presence of many recognizable food product mascots. This made other film studios eager to capitalize on what they saw as Hollywood's next big trend. This culminated in two highly ambitious and constantly rivaling cinematic universes centered around the various mascots of two of the biggest breakfast cereal companies in the world, Kellogg's and General Mills. This is the War of Cereal Cinematic Universes. Of course, Kellogg's and General Mills weren't the only cereal companies cashing in on the new craze in Hollywood. In fact, Quaker Oats actually beat both General Mills and Kellogg's to the punch. Or should I say, the crunch. Captain Crunch getting the film treatment felt inevitable, given that he was easily the most recognizable cereal mascot not owned by General Mills or Kellogg's. However, the Captain's first foray into film wasn't originally supposed to be tied to the cereal brand at all. In fact, it was originally meant to be tied to a theme park attraction. Walt Disney Pictures had teamed up with producer Jerry Bruckheimer and director Gore Verbinski to make a film based on the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction at the Disney theme parks. They figured such a silly idea would have no problem getting approved by the miserable movie makers, as similarly conceived films such as 2003's The Haunted Mansion, 1997's Tower of Terror, and 1971's very poorly aged It's a Small World were quickly approved. However, prior to its planned 2003 release, Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl was deemed of exceedingly high quality and banned from release. Having spent $140 million on the film, Disney needed some way to recoup that money. After the success of Foodfight, Disney reached out to Quaker Oats to acquire a temporary license for Captain Crunch and his arch-nemesis, Jean Lafoot, offering them 50% of all profits from the film. Quaker Oats agreed, and with a few script tweaks, the film released in 2004 as Pirates of the Crunchabean: The Curse of Oops All Berries. Although some stars from the original film, namely Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley, declined to return for the reworked film, Johnny Depp and Jeffrey Rush eagerly took on the roles of Captain Crunch and Jean Lafoot, with Depp saying, "I'll take any role where I get to wear a funny hat." Critics said the film clearly didn't know what it wanted to be, and the film barely broke even after Quaker Oats' 50% cut was taken out. All sequel plans were scrapped, although a remake starring Margot Robbie has been rumored for years. Universal Studios' 1994 live-action Flintstones movie was a financial success, and although its 2000 prequel, Viva Rock Vegas, did not do well financially, they felt that a third movie would be a good way to capitalize on the cereal mascot film trend without feeling like overt advertisement. Drawing inspiration from The Pebbles and Bam Bam Show, 2009's The Flintstones 3, The Pebbles and Bam Bam Movie, centered on Pebbles and Bam Bam as teenagers, played by Wizards of Waverly Place star Jennifer Stone and Big Time Rush star James Maslow, creating two delicious cereals to help their families out of financial ruin, which would never have been an issue if Fred accepted that very lucrative promotion at the end of the first movie. Sorry, got a little carried away there. The film was criticized for being more of an overt advertisement than most cereal mascot films, and it bombed at the box office because it released just a week after Chocula, which, ironically, starred the best part of the original Flintstones movie, Halle Berry. This failure, however, inspired Universal to take a darker approach to another post-cereals mascot. Sickle creators James Wan and Lee Winnell were hired to rework an old unproduced John Landis script from the 80s called An American Werewolf in London to center around the crazy craving mascot of Honeycomb. So, in 2011, they released A Crazy Craving in London, which centered on a family vacation that goes horribly wrong when the son, played by Ty Simpkins, turns into the monstrous crazy craving and starts killing people for a taste of honeycomb cereal. Critics said the film would have been a genuinely scary film if not for the stupidly forced cereal brand integration. Audiences found it very scary, and it did exceptionally well at the box office, especially compared to The Cheerios Kid, which came out around the same time. A sequel titled A Crazy Craving in Paris is supposedly releasing in 2027. Believe it or not, neither General Mills nor Kellogg's were the most prolific cereal company in film. That honor actually goes to Malt-O-Meal. Known for producing cheap, off-brand alternatives to popular cereals, they figured they could adopt the same strategy for filmmaking and teamed up with The Asylum for a 15-picture deal. In 2005, The Asylum released 3 Malt-O-Meal branded films, all designed to capitalize on recent releases. Marshmallow Mateys, made to capitalize on Pirates of the Caribbean, Golden Honey-O's, made to capitalize on Buzz's Beatitudes, and Frosted Flakes, made to capitalize on, well, Frosted Flakes. Malt-O-Meal did and still does sell a cereal called Frosted Flakes, but copyright and trademark laws are a lot stricter for film than for cereal, so Kellogg sued the hell out of them. Or they plan to anyway, but court cases take a long time, and by 2011, Kellogg's was more concerned about saving their brand from being ridiculed by porn flicks, so they dropped the case. By the way, did you know the lawsuit between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni is still going on? Guess we won't be getting that Pac-Man movie starring Christian Bale and Noah Nelson anytime soon. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Malt-O-Meal. Their further collaborations with The Asylum consisted of 2007's Cookie Bites, ripping off Chip and Tricks, 2008's Berry Colossal Crunch, ripping off Chex Quest, 2009's Dino Bites, ripping off Flintstones 3, 2010's Cinnamon Toasters, ripping off Frankenberry, 2011's Honey Buzzers, ripping off The Cheerios Kid and A Crazy Craving in London, 2015's Tutti Fruities, ripping off Quest for the Indigo Loop, 2017's Crispy Rice, ripping off Rice Krispies Civil War, 2019's Cocoa Roos, ripping off Puffs, and Apple Zings, ripping off Apple Jacks, 2023's Honey Nut Scooters, ripping off What's the Buzz, and Frosted Mini Scooters, ripping off Kellogg's Spaces Loaded, and 2024's Peanut Butter Cups, ripping off Puffs Grignoton Croquant Chocolate. In 2026, Malt-O-Meal is teaming up with Paramount instead of The Asylum to release their first completely original cereal and film, Operation Catahoula Crunch, starring Dean Cain and directed by aspiring Nazi General Greg Bovino? Shit, the timelines are trying to converge. Cut that out.